Yes, I was born deaf. Grew up being deaf. I'm the only deaf in the family, deaf person in the family. I grew up with a Hispanic family, so it was an interesting journey with a hearing family. And many of them didn't know sign, so I had a lot of barriers for communication. Luckily, my mother did learn sign when she found out at 6 months. So just recently, I grew up always thinking I was the only deaf within my family. And then a few years ago, my grandmother passed away. And it actually wasn't my real grandfather. It was a step-grandfather, and I didn't know that. It came as a shock to me, but it turns out it skipped some generations. So my actual grandpa, his family, the sister was deaf, and that's where it became interesting. I did try to reach out to them, but unfortunately, they're still a little bit reluctant that I'm part of the family. Very interesting because I'd gone a whole world with hearing and then a whole world in deafness. I was deprived of language, so to speak. I didn't fully understand what was going on within the family.
Okay, so I was born deaf. My parents found out that I was deaf, I think 10 months old. And then I got my first pair of hearing aids when I was 12. Lots of families think, okay, cochlear implants will fix everything, like you'll be able to hear right away, which is not true. So I could hear a little bit. It's just like airplanes. I couldn't hear airplanes. I couldn't hear like the AC turning on. I couldn't hear like the leaves, like just the little things I couldn't hear. And like conversations were so muffled. It's hard to explain, but there were just so many like sounds I didn't even hear with hearing aids. And then when I got my cochlear implant, I was like, did the AC just turn on? It's like, you can hear like it's really windy outside, like the rain. I never heard rain. It's so weird because I could not hear myself breathe with hearing aids. And then when I got activated with my cochlear implants, it was like, just, you don't think about it, but like, us, like, or hearing people, they don't like listen to them breathe, you know what I mean? Like, so when I got my implant, I'm like, this is weird. I can hear myself breathing. Like, it's just, I thought that was the weirdest thing. Yeah, I really had a really wonderful support system growing up, and my childhood was really good. My parents didn't treat me different. Is anybody in the family deaf? My dad is hard of hearing. So he's always had hearing loss, and it runs in the family. So all of my aunts have hearing aids. They have trouble like hearing and understanding things. So I didn't want people to see my hearing aids because I had a big bulky FM. You're wearing a harness, like a dog harness, literally. You're wearing a harness and there's cords that go into your ears. And my teachers wore a Britney Spears FM. So it was like, okay, everybody knows that I have hearing loss. Everybody, so that my confidence went downhill. I did not like it. So it was hard. It was very hard. That's why I didn't have a lot of friends. I just kind of kept it to myself. I was a big dog lover, so I always went home to my dogs, and just kind of kept it to myself. College is when I blossomed, that's why I really just love so much about Texas State, because it's so diverse and accepting that I made friends that I never thought I would make friends, met my husband that I never thought I would ever get married, so it was awesome. And I just met amazing friends that even learned sign language to communicate with me, so Texas State was amazing, and just the interpreters there were amazing. So I would pay attention to the interpreters, kind of listen to what's going on, and I would have somebody else taking notes for me. And I had like a doorbell, so if somebody was at the doorbell or like at the door, they would ring the doorbell and the lights would go off. I had all the accommodations that I needed. That's what makes me thankful that I had a good experience. And honestly, I'm one of the very few. So it's like my heart goes out to those who don't have that access the way that I did, so yeah, that's unfortunate.
I always wanted to go to Carly University, which is the only deaf liberal arts university in the world. I looked at the environment, and it was a good school. It was a wonderful environment. I wanted the social to be different. I didn't want the same thing I had growing up, so I wanted to challenge myself. TSU is really close to Austin, where I love the community in Austin because it's a large, rich, deaf community. So San Marcos, it's just a 30-minute drive, so I thought, why not apply here? It's really challenging at Texas State in the classroom environment. At first, it was a little overwhelming because obviously I grew up at a school for the deaf. So when I got to college, my first year, it was like earth-changing. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so many, the professors, the students. It wasn't comfortable for me. So the environment at that time, it helped me learn to make myself be more assertive, to tell people what my plan is, tell them I'm new, get a relationship with my teachers. I thought that was very interesting for me. I feel like I don't really get or need support. I do have to work quite a bit to ask or prompt people. If the teacher says like the interpreter missed something or a study group, I have to make sure I can't write back and forth. I feel like I need more support so that I can be involved. But overall experience, it's been interesting, and I've learned how to interact with hearing people.
My name is Dr. Allison Robinson. I am an associate professor of instruction in the history department at Texas State, as well as the director of women, gender, sexuality studies. Oh my goodness. I had a very good history professor at Concordia University, and I was not a great student my first year. She saw potential in me that I did not see. She totally turned everything around, and it was her. That's why I'm teaching. A lot of my courses have built-in accommodations. So the first thing I want them to know is that I respect deaf culture and what it means. The other thing is I like to build relationships with the interpreters because most of my classes are lecture style, and I do talk very, very quickly. So I always want to make sure that I'm not going too fast and they're not missing something. The other thing is that I find really important is that even though there's an interpreter, when a deaf student is signing, I look at them. I don't watch the interpreter. I don't focus on them. I focus on the student. And my encouragement to professors would be to learn more about the challenges deaf students face in an environment like this and look for those little ways to make deaf students feel comfortable in class.
Because the university provides the interpreters 100%. And for example, if the interpreter misses my class, I'll immediately text them and say what's up, what's going on with the interpreter, and see where they are. So I'm very direct with that. I feel like I'm welcomed, but then again, it doesn't always reciprocate that way. So that's kind of a challenge for me sometimes to access communication when there's not an interpreter or even with the interpreter. So what I decided to do was to make a list of names that I wanted who could interpret with me, and then after that, everything worked out pretty great.
Are you good? Huh? Hey, why don't you go play with your toys? Huh? After I graduated, I tried to figure out what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then I became a deaf education teacher at the elementary school that I went to. But growing up, I always wanted a deaf dog because my elementary school teacher, she's a deaf ed teacher, and she had a deaf therapy dog, so she would always evolve her lesson plans around deaf dogs. So after my first year of teaching, I was like, okay, so we're coming towards the end of the school year, I want to start looking for a deaf dog. Another teacher heard that, and she was like, so she started texting me all these like dogs who are deaf at shelters and stuff. And she sent me a picture of Red. So we drove an hour and a half. Instantly, he was just like, literally like the book, like jumped on me, gave me kisses. That's how I met him. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna adopt you. I'm gonna take you home. There's not a lot of deaf characters in books written by a deaf person. So I was like, hey, well, I can write a book. Reading, writing, that was not my strength. So I never thought of write a book. Now I have two. Yes. Like, you're not alone. There's so many people out there just like you, you know, and just finding them, connect with them, and get out there, you know, and meet people. Because I was like, that was really out of my comfort zone of just talking to people. And because of that, it has changed me.
What I want to do is to become a teacher. There's very few teachers for the deaf, so my goal is to get my PhD, and after that, I'm hopefully going to be working with the government on a national level under the Department of Education. I would tell them to just stick with it, advocate for yourself, know what's good for you, and I would tell them the first year is always going to be extremely frustrating, but you're going to learn and you're going to be on the journey, and deafness doesn't need to stop you as a deaf student here. I think you'll feel the experience is great. You just have to continue. The education system is wonderful, and I want to see them benefit from what they have here. So my advice to them would tell them, stay strong, don't give up. Make sure that you have deaf peers and you have mentors.